Alright, so we talk a lot about the cutting edge, the brand new, the next big thing in AI, but every now and then it's worth looking back, not just at the successes, but at the things that, let's be honest, didn't quite hit the mark the first time around. Because in tech, and especially in a field moving as fast as artificial intelligence, failure isn't always the end. Sometimes it's just a really interesting and often public detour on the way to something genuinely groundbreaking. What's fascinating to me is how some of these perceived missteps, these projects that were maybe written off or even became punchlines, have quietly been learning, evolving. They've been in the lab, iterating, and now they're re-emerging in ways that are not just surprising but are actively shaping the future of AI as we head into 2025. Today we're diving into some of those stories. These aren't just minor course corrections, these are full-blown AI comebacks. We're talking about technologies that face serious skepticism, public failures, or just didn't live up to the initial hype, and are now back, more powerful and more integrated into our world than ever. So let's get into it. So, Boston Dynamics. If you've been on the internet at any point in the last, say, 10 to 15 years, you've seen their robots. And back in the early 2010s, let's be real, they were often the subject of memes. You had Atlas, Big Dog, these incredibly complex machines that were, frankly, a bit unsettling to watch. They'd stumble, they looked awkward, and the videos often highlighted their instability as much as their capabilities. The running joke was always about when they'd inevitably fall over or how they looked like something out of a sci-fi movie that hadn't quite rendered properly. But underneath all that, Boston Dynamics was tackling one of the hardest problems in robotics: dynamic stability and autonomous navigation in unpredictable environments. Fast forward to today, and the evolution is stunning. Take their Spot robot, the quadruped that's probably their most recognizable platform now. Spot can navigate cluttered industrial sites, climb stairs, open doors, and perform inspections in hazardous areas, all with a level of autonomy that was pure science fiction not too long ago. Spot is being deployed in a range of real-world scenarios. We're seeing it in military training simulations, providing a dynamic and unpredictable element for soldiers to interact with. The key here is the AI's ability to learn from its environment and operate with minimal human intervention, making it a versatile tool rather than just a complex machine. Alright, let's talk about IBM Watson. This is a name that, for a while, was almost synonymous with the promise of AI. Back in 2011, Watson famously competed on Jeopardy! And won. It was a huge moment, a public demonstration that AI could understand natural language, sift through vast amounts of information, and come up with nuanced answers. The hype was immense. IBM positioned Watson as a revolutionary technology that was going to transform industries, particularly healthcare, by diagnosing diseases, personalizing treatments, and unlocking medical breakthroughs. But then, things got a bit complicated. The initial foray into healthcare, particularly with Watson for oncology, didn't quite live up to those grand expectations. Critics started to become vocal, and the narrative shifted from AI wunderkind to overhyped disappointment. However, what wasn't as widely reported was that IBM didn't just shelve the technology. They went back to the drawing board, not to abandon Watson but to refine it, to learn from those early challenges, and to refocus its capabilities. And that brings us to the comeback, WatsonX. This isn't just a rebranding, it's a significant evolution of the Watson platform, launched in 2023. Watson is no longer just a Jeopardy! Champion, it's a serious contender in the enterprise AI space. Chapter 3. Tay's Ghost, How a Rogue Chatbot Paved the Way for Copilot. Now this next one is a comeback story born from a very public, very cringeworthy AI meltdown. I'm talking about Microsoft's Tay. Back in 2016, Microsoft launched Tay, an AI chatbot on Twitter, designed to learn from conversations with users and develop its own personality. Within 24 hours, Tay went from innocent teen speak to spewing racist, sexist, and inflammatory remarks. It was a PR nightmare for Microsoft. Tay had been targeted by internet trolls who deliberately fed it offensive content, and the AI, in its naive attempt to learn and mimic, absorbed and repeated it. Microsoft had to pull Tay offline less than a day after its launch. The incident became a global headline, a stark example of the dangers of releasing AI into the wild without robust safeguards, and a deep understanding of how it might be exploited. The Tay incident forced Microsoft and indeed the entire AI industry to confront the ethical implications, the need for better content filtering, stronger guardrails, and a more nuanced approach to how AI learns from human interaction. And that brings us to Microsoft's AI comeback in the productivity space, Copilot. Copilot is Microsoft's AI assistant, deeply embedded across its entire suite of products. It's designed to be a helpful partner, assisting users with a vast range of tasks, from drafting emails and summarizing documents to generating code and creating presentations. Microsoft took the public humiliation of Tay, internalized the hard lessons, and channeled that into creating one of the most pervasive and for many indispensable AI tools in the current landscape. Chapter 4. The People's AI Open Source Rising. So for a long time, the narrative around cutting-edge AI development was dominated by a few big tech companies. They had the resources, the massive datasets, and the armies of researchers to build these incredibly powerful but often proprietary, closed-source models. Open-source AI, while always present and incredibly important for the research community, was often perceived by the broader market as being a step behind. But then, something started to shift, and it shifted pretty dramatically. We began to see the rise of incredibly capable open-source AI models that weren't just good. They were starting to seriously challenge, and in some cases even outperform, their proprietary counterparts. Think about Meta's Llama models. When they were released, and especially when their weights leaked, it kicked off a Cambrian explosion of innovation in the open-source community. Stability AI's Stable Diffusion completely changed the game for open-source image generation, offering a powerful alternative to closed systems like DALL-E and Mid-Journey. We've seen companies like Mistral AI emerge, releasing open-source large language models that are incredibly performant. These aren't just hobbyist projects, these are serious, cutting-edge AI tools being developed and shared openly. What's really compelling about this comeback, or perhaps this ascent, of open-source AI is how it's democratizing access to powerful AI capabilities. It's decentralizing development, moving it beyond the confines of a few corporate labs. This rise of powerful, accessible, open-source AI is one of the most significant comebacks, or rather emergences, in the tech world today. Chapter 5. Failure is just data, the future of AI. So as we've seen, the path of AI development is rarely a straight line. These comeback stories, from Boston Dynamics robots learning to navigate chaos, to IBM Watson finding its enterprise footing, Microsoft turning Tay's disaster into Copilot success, and the incredible rise of open-source AI, they all underscore a really important point. In the world of technology, and especially in AI, what looks like a failure today can often be the seed for a major breakthrough tomorrow. It's about resilience, learning, and that relentless drive to iterate and improve. These aren't just feel-good stories about underdogs. They highlight a fundamental truth about innovation. Setbacks are often crucibles for creativity and progress. The AI landscape of 2025 is being actively shaped by these redeemed technologies. AI's comeback stories aren't just about redemption, they're proof that failure fuels innovation. So, what will come back next? Smash that like button if you love a good tech underdog story. Subscribe for more mind-blowing AI updates and drop a comment below. What's your favorite AI comeback? Don't forget to share this with someone who still thinks AI is a fad. See you in the next one.